We are.
Okay, big deal. Only 20 minutes late.
Hey, everybody.
Every day there's a little glitch.
It's a new adventure.
New adventure, right, to make sure it's working right. Anyway, the Jimmy Doane Show is supposed to start at 4 o'clock. We're aiming closer and closer. Now it's 4:20. Or maybe some of our crowd hung around, didn't realize that we were going to come on after all.
Yeah.
So this is the, whatever it is, 19th or something like that.
Yep.
And it's 4:20 here in the afternoon here in Gainesville. The Jimmy Doane Show with Counselor Curtis.
That's me.
That's you. And of course you can call in.
Right up here.
Yeah,
call this number.
Skype or something, or I don't know. Yeah.
Phone rings.
Yeah, the phone rings. So anyway, we got some news today. Some of it's anecdotal, but some of it's kind of fun. One of the things, of course, we've noticed since yesterday, once again, we're going to find out here, you're going to triple down on something, aren't you?
I got a couple things I'm tripling down on.
I want to hear about it.
Okay, which one first?
Well, I'd say probably the Lochte thing or whatever.
Okay, all right. So, quick update. Yesterday, we did a thing on Ryan Lochte. He's our Olympic swimmer, who's, if you don't know, haven't seen any news in the last few days. He was apparently involved in some kind of robbery. That is, he was robbed with his buddies a few days ago. The story leaked out at Olympic Village. It got out, and the Brazilians were hot about being accused of having robbed him, and they seized two of our swimmers and brought them down for a little discussion about the incident. Ryan was back here in the States. He gave a couple interviews basically saying that this robbery did happen, and then they detained, like I said, the swimmers down there. So it's a big hoorah, and my contention is that they were robbed by the Brazilian police. The Brazilians are protesting too much, right. As far as I'm concerned. They're way too upset about this report. And today, a new little tidbit came out on Ryan's Instagram. There is a very forced apology that has come out.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He posted a thing which said, not I made the whole thing up or anything like that, but I accept responsibility for the incident.
Okay.
And then he does go on to say a gun was pointed at my head, and which that supports his original story.
Sure.
But he says I made mistakes, things like these vague generalizations about what happened. It's exactly the kind of confession that you would force out of somebody from another country.
Right.
Him knowing that his buddies are down there.
Right.
Unfortunately, the vagueness and the reluctance in his apology cuts both ways, because it could also be read as he's just a brat and doesn't want to admit it. And if I were his PR guy, I would have said, come out and say something like, I made the whole thing up. It never happened. It was all my idea. I convinced my friends to go along with it over their objection. Please play along so that I can be a hero in this. All about me. Brazil is awesome. Brazil is wonderful. The police are awesome. I love them. Please send our swimmers home.
Right.
Because then it would be clear that it was forced. If he were sarcastic about it, I think. But maybe that would get his people in more hot water.
The main thing is to get them back to where they can finally take a sigh of relief and say, I ain't never going back to Brazil again.
Exactly.
Kind of stuff.
So I'm getting piles of emails on my Facebook that says, Curtis, you're way overboard on this one, man. Reel it back in.
Right.
Come back. You're denying the obvious. Yeah. All this kind of stuff.
It was made up. Totally made up.
Totally. Well, it was a publicity dive for this guy. This guy wanted, he's a reality TV show star, wannabe or something. And it was all a big cover-up for this incident at the gas station. Well, we'll see. Give him a couple weeks. I'm doubling down, double the size of my crow pie if I have to eat it, and we'll see in a couple weeks when everybody's back safe in the States if another story doesn't come out.
Yeah, right.
So,
which of course will also be denied.
Of course, and then like I said, the hookers will come out and say they were all with us that night and that kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah,
but But I'm backing our Olympian, our guy. Just doesn't. It's not adding up in my head the way the whole thing went down.
It's amazing how many people. I mean, our people just don't say he was.
Well, if you read the headlines are saying stuff like, "Story doesn't add up," "Videotape proves," "lies," and they just on and on and on. It's as if there's a giant PR campaign by Brazil to place these stories. And our media has just snapped it up, and so we'll see.
So what are they holding these other swimmers on?
Well, they were going to charge them with falsifying police report, basically, but they didn't report it to the police. So it's that's part of the suspicion is why are they so upset at these guys? And to me, the only rational reason is because they're busted. They're cold busted. And here are some very believable heroes.
Right.
Are athletes here. It's not your buddy who went down to Brazil and said, "Yeah, the federales held me up." No. Yeah, sure they did. Yeah. No. This is reputable people, and so we're going to see. But these were not this is not the Lance Armstrong confession where he comes out and says, "It was me. I did it. I'm the flawed character," or the Floyd Landis. "Hell yeah, I doped." Everybody does it. No. This is something entirely different. This was a super vague, couched terminology,
right.
Everything drafted by the lawyers,
right?
Kind of apology.
Yeah, you bet.
A
Janet Yellen response.
Oh, totally. This is dance around the facts. I mean, woo-hoo-hoo, tango around these
over
facts.
Here, no, over
yeah,
here.
That's right. Yeah, so I'm still not buying it. I am doubling down.
Okay, now you're doubling down on something else.
Yes, I am.
Oh, my God.
Wait, hold on. We're going to transition.
Well, it's still doubling down.
It is.
Or tripling down. Oh, let me see here.
And I'm gonna try it on you. Oh, regulator, I'm got my mojo working for you. Yeah, I'm gonna try it on you.
And we're back, and I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. I just wanted to take a look here.
Jimmy is checking our messages. You can send us a message if you want to Jimmy@jimmydoane.com. We still have that one?
Yeah.
And Doane is Doane, or you can Skype in if you're really brave, or you can call us if you're slightly less brave. And oh, that's going to go out,
Oh no! Well, let me turn it off. At least I know we're streaming. So.
We are live.
Yeah, we are live. Let me. Well, that's what I was trying to do, is to find us, make sure we were going out. There's the old 7-second delay or whatever.
Yeah.
So in case we do something here. So now.
Okay, tripling down again.
Okay, this is on the.
This is on the $400 million ransom that was paid for our guys. Okay, Now Jimmy and I are on opposite sides on this one.
What?
What? You said you believe it was a ransom.
Yeah.
Okay, not me.
Oh, okay.
That's my double down.
Okay.
I'm coming out and saying not a ransom. This was money owed already to the Iranian government, and I realized that these monies exchanged like it was here. We're gonna wheelbarrow our guys over, and as we're doing that, you're gonna wheelbarrow the money over across the same tarmac, cross in the middle, shake hands, Red Rover. Looks like a giant quid pro quo.
Yep.
But my contention, or what I come back to, is where did the $400 million come from? And by all accounts, it's coming from an account that was deposited into or received from the Iranians.
Fighter jets, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
In the 70s, right before the hostage, 400 day, whatever it is, hostage thing. Okay, fine. So you're saying no ransom, this is a legit payment.
That's right.
Okay. It's interesting because, well, that's right, it reverses, doesn't it? So you won't see it.
Well, not this one, that's right.
State Department, $400 million to Iran was contingent on U.S. prisoners' release. Now, not that you believe everything comes from the State Department.
Yeah.
But the link between the payment meant to settle the Iranian claim back to the 1970s over a blocked arms purchase and Iran's decision to release the 4 Americans, according to Washington Post bureau chief so-and-so, has become increasingly controversial. So basically, in his account, he didn't use the word ransom, but Obama insisted we do not pay ransom, saying the 2 negotiations went along completely separate tracks. We didn't hear and we won't in the future. Today, the State Department admitted what we've long suspected, that the President and his administration have been misleading us since January about whether he ransomed the freedom of the Americans unjustly imprisoned in Iran. The President owes the American people a full accounting and so forth, said Mr. Ryan, that's House Speaker Ryan or whatever. So apparently, somebody in the administration,
in the State Department,
right.
It was John Kerry, and it was a yes/no question that they asked him. Was the money paid in exchange for the prisoners? Yes, is his answer. Okay, so and I know it sounds pretty damaging the way I just phrased it, of course, but I'm not convinced, that was the way that it was phrased and that was the context that it was said in. And I'll tell you why it makes a big difference from my perspective as to, it doesn't matter what John Kerry is willing to say. I mean, he's a baboon as far as I'm concerned. But the reason that it makes a difference as to where the money comes from is this. Assume a new set of facts and well, for example, this money, according to the international court
right.
that we submitted to the jurisdiction of, for purposes of arbitrating this money that we got in exchange for the fighter jets, we still owe the Iranian government about $900 billion or $900 million
Okay.
for this. For that transgression. That is, we took money from them. We did not give them the fighter jets. That's a contract breach. So we owe them that money back plus interest. So if you want to call this number right here. Oh, you know what? We might not have switched the phone over. That might have been a call.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
But you can still switch the phone.
Yeah, well...
maybe during the break.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So anyway,
So here's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
The reason it makes a big difference is because if we owe them this money, then they're already entitled to the money, and they're not getting anything by giving us back the prisoners. Now let me give you a future example that could solve this. Let's say the Iranians captured some more of our sailors right now, and they said, "Hey, in exchange for these sailors back, we want another $500 million of that money."
Right.
Would you consider that a ransom?
Yeah.
But we already owe it to them. They're not getting it. And here's the difference. The reason it makes a difference is because it gives them no incentive to go and capture our guys if we already owe them the money. Unless they absolutely think we're just going to renege on that anyway.
We've reneged on it for 30 years.
Well, that goes in your favor. The fact is, maybe we weren't ever going to give them that money back, and so they had to kidnap our sailors in order to get that money back. But that's their money, and you can't. To me, to hold it against them by putting leverage on something to get their own money back.
Okay. I hear you. I'm calling bullshit on this whole thing, and you can double down on it. One of the problems with it is we may never know because.
Yeah. What do we know about what's
what
going
do we know
on?
about it? I mean, but because what I'm taking is what the guys said, that they were on the plane and they were held on the tarmac until the other plane arrived, so to
Right.
speak, kind of thing. Well, that looks like some kind of quid pro quo to me. So, I mean, they may still deny it forever. It'll just, it wasn't, no, it wasn't, in spite of the fact that it literally took place within minutes of each other, and after 30, 40 years or whatever it is, and you're sitting there thinking, it's just a little too close, not to be something in there. And, they always do this back channel stuff and everything. And so the problem, of course, is the reason they have to keep claiming that it wasn't a ransom was because we never play ransoms. And, of course, everybody would be going, everybody tourists to the Middle East would be going around with a little sign on their head that says, I'm worth $5 million, I'm worth 500,000, and so that's the idea, is so you keep denying it. Well, good luck on it. I just... that's why I don't think we'll ever really know, because
it's kind of close enough to go both ways.
The fact that the Iranians did come out and taunt taunt. They said, "Ha ha, we got you. We did. It was a ransom." Blah blah blah. So they again. Who do you believe? Okay, we're moving on.
Okay. All right, we're back.
We're back. Okay, good deal. Anything particular else you want to do?
Nope,
Okay,
nope.
Okay, I got a couple. These are some anecdotal things, but they're kind of fun.
Okay.
The EU has decided to claim the Britain's Olympic gold medals as its own. And of course there's some irony then, because in this week's stunt from the German consultancy Euroinformationen or whatever, the company whose clients include the European Commission and European Parliament has introduced a new Olympics medals table which puts the EU at the top because they're counting all the medals from all the EU countries,
Sure.
including Mr.
Why don't they
Brexit.
just count everybody of European descent?
Well, what I'm saying is the Chinese could say everybody of Asian descent.
That's right. That's us,
whatever.
man.
Everybody in the southern hemisphere, we're counting those. So anyway, the absurdity, of course, and the diplomatic idiocy. This is what's so funny. What do these people do? I mean, these people get paid big bucks in there in Brussels. I mean, huge. There was a expose documentary on what these clowns do. But I mean, the EU, as any bureaucrats will proudly drawl, it's not a country, it's a bloc. But there's got to be money involved someplace. I mean, they want the EU to have some kind of standing in this, and it's just a joke.
Yeah, can you imagine if it was your job to designate the winners? Would you go and appropriate some medals for our group, please?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, they're claiming that the swimmers and all the people that actually did the gold were part of the EU can say we did it.
While they were training.
Yeah, they were training in an EU country. So the very country that is sternly absorbed is shaming and punishing for its rankly disobedient vote to the EU in June to leave. That was France.
Mm-hmm.
France wanted to get out, or they're thinking about it, or something. But so the point is that this is, I guess, another way to kind of bolster the bloc, because we're all for one and one for all of 10, 18, how many musketeers there were in the EU. So it's a perfect manifestation of the EU's obsession with conformism and its visceral distrust of individualism, national or otherwise. And that's, they want, this is the giant melting pot. So where, of course, the little minor problem is that there's like 14 or 20 major languages in this thing, and
it's the Holy Roman Empire.
Well, they all spoke Latin. That was the one thing that the Roman Empire did do, was they all spoke the same language. Mm-hmm. Basically, when at the Roman Empire at its broadest was a unification thing by the roads and the language. So there was that was pretty important, and then they blew it. Even popular democratic attempts to go against have a history of being ignored. Famously, in 2005, the French were offered a referendum on whether to ratify the European Constitution, and after much thought and debate, they voted against it. But but it got ratified anyway. They did that here with our Constitution. You only needed 9 of the states of the 13. And once they got the 9, then the rest.
Everybody else is in.
Everybody else is in, whether you like it or not. Of course, that brings up one little tidbit that I'm going to add here. Sorry, tangent, little branch. Is if you get a chance, you read Lysander Spooner, and he has an essay on No Constitution. It's called, written in the 1860s, I think. And he says, how can you bind American citizens, individuals, for 100 years from this document? You need to ratify. What you need to do is to ratify it every generation at least.
Right. And the numbers of people who actually voted on that ratification is
minuscule.
Yeah.
I mean, look, until 1920, if you were half the population couldn't vote.
Right, right.
And
And of course, back at the time of ratification, the entire population of the United States was like a couple of million people.
it was no,
The
yeah, it was
United States.
Yeah, right.
The colonies.
The colonies, the states, whatever it is. These, and of course, they were called these states united rather than the United States of kind of a.
That's gone now.
Yes, no,
it's
totally,
USA.
No, that Lincoln destroyed the whole thing. I mean, he was the one that said, no, you can't leave after all. So that was that. Anyway, so I'm moving on.
Okay. And we're back.
Okay. Our neighbors, you know, our gentle neighbors to the north.
Uh-huh.
They're so polite, and you know, they have, when you watch some of the videos, they'll say, you know, they're just so polite. When
America light.
Yeah, America, I mean, super light, feather light and everything. However, they get upset or whatever it is, panties in a wad, whatever it is, when a comedian makes a joke.
Oh, right. I saw this.
This is Canadian comedian Mike Ward was fined $42,000 by Quebec's Human Rights Tribunal for jokes he made about a disabled boy.
Yeah.
The child, Jeremy who suffers from Treacher-Collins syndrome, which I guess is
Some horrible thing.
Yeah, it's so horrible, but I mean, I can't believe it's as common as, you know, Zika virus or anything.
Who cares? It's a super rare.
Is a bit of a national celebrity in Canada after he sung for the Pope in 2006, essentially because everyone thought he did not have long to live. Ward's joke was a rant about how the child was supposed to die, that he stole a wish and is unkillable. Sure, not in great taste, but certainly not a violation of human rights.
Right.
His joke was never televised. I mean, okay, it was never televised, just like the people in Rio never called the police.
Right.
You know, never televised, but after he talked a bit about it in an interview, Gabrielle's parents found out and dragged the comedian into the Human Rights Tribunal.
Right, the Star Chamber.
Star Chamber, right. He fought the fine but lost in court. He plans to appeal the decision. If that fails, he'll try to bring the case to the Supreme Court. If I lose that move, I'm just going to move to Syria or Saudi Arabia or some other country that respects free speech as much as Canada does.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, this is stunningly. This is the other side of Canada, that they do stuff like this. They are real horror stories about how they're really up, you know, in your face.
Yeah, everybody does stuff like this except for us. I mean, you can get in big trouble speaking, saying just with your words in most other countries, as we've talked about.
Yeah,
you know,
and those are thought police arrests.
Totally, absolutely,
I mean,
because who understands sarcasm, for example? You know, if I say, boy, the Crown, they're really super people.
Yeah.
You know, I just love our rulers.
Yeah.
You know, can that be interpreted as, oh, well, he really meant he hates us and we suck, and therefore he gets to be jailed? I mean, at what point do you cross that line?
As you know, a lot of the dictator countries, it's a criminal death offense,
Right.
To criticize the glorious leader of, you know, Myanmar or whatever.
Exactly,
it is.
and it's totally absurd because nobody can say whether or not somebody is being sarcastic. I mean, I can look at you with a super straight face and laud the Crown, and yet just have a couple of slight little nuanced
especially in
cuts.
video when you have a look on your face that
Right.
belies what you're saying.
Exactly. You
But
can
I mean,
do
the one of the really famous ones of these, of course, was Salman Rushdie.
right.
When he wrote the book, I mean, he's in London, and he wrote this book.
Fatwa.
In the fatwa, you know, and he's open season on this guy.
Right.
Whoever will kill him, you know, will get $50,000 or something. This is by an imam or whoever it was, you know, in Iran or Iraq or whatever. I mean, and literally, they killed his publisher in the Holland and in Japan. for being publishing the book. He had to go in literally into hiding, witness protection for I don't know how many years. I don't know where he is today. I mean, maybe the fatwa still stands. I don't know.
I read about it not too long ago. Should know this. I don't think he's terribly worried about it anymore. I don't know if it was lifted or not. But he found out about it when like the reporters came to his door,
right,
in Kansas or wherever it was. He knock knock knock. By the way, do you know this entire country's out to kill you?
Yeah.
And he was like, "What?" And yeah.
I mean, this was just and apparently it was the fact is that this is one of those things similar to this is what happens. This was the people, the liberals, the Hillary supporters, claiming that Donald Trump's Second Amendment thing was a license to kill the Queen, the Hillary. This is what it meant. Mm-hmm. This is absolutely what it meant. He is inciting violence. He needs to be arrested. Mm-hmm. He's disobeyed the laws. Treason.
Mm-hmm. Treason. Yeah.
Treason was the big thing. Well, I mean, give me a break.
Right.
You talk about these people that go off the deep. So anyway, here's the imam or whoever he was, Khomeini or whoever. I mean, this was not, and the same thing with the pictures. It's a picture, for God's sake.
The Charlie Hebdo stuff? Yeah, well, that's what, it needs to be firmly established worldwide that you are not allowed or justified in perpetrating violence because you were communicated an idea. Whether in picture form or word form, if you got an idea communicated to you, you can't just grab the torch or the bayonet and go out there and stab somebody and say, well, if they had never brought that up, if they had never drawn that picture of Muhammad or whatever it was, and it's just, to me, it's obvious on its face because nobody can tell what somebody is communicating at any given time.
No, but this is the same thing with the black BLM and the feminism and all this stuff. These people are all offended. I didn't say anything. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I wasn't offended. And they said, well, I was offended by your little speechy thing here or your picture or whatever it was.
Well, I mean, I don't know. The Black Lives Matter people, from my perspective, are offended because people are getting killed.
That could be. But I'm talking about something. Okay, let me take that back. There's other stuff that I forget. Maybe if somebody's fat or something. There's all kinds of stuff that the victim is the person who's offended. And the perpetrator is the guy who just uttered some innocent speech, but it was interpreted by this person. And so the next thing you know, this guy's being slapped in chains.
Right. And there's a movement out there that says that you can be offended by words, even as an adult. And that then you can take action on it. We see these safe spaces on campus and stuff like that where, this is a zone where certain words can't be mentioned or something. To me, this is like the opposite of education. It's like, how could they should put those people in a room and just force them to listen to somebody spewing hate at them over and over again until they're completely desensitized. Right. I mean, to me, that's because get over it. It's words. This is
some of the stuff that's gone viral, of course, on YouTube and so forth. Are these people who are? One comes to mind is this little harpy who was in a group, and she was ordering the reporters out of her safe space. Go back, go back. You are impinging on my. Well, she had come out to the reporter, of course, to accuse him of. He was filming, the whole thing, and she's screaming, at this horrible person who's filming out on the public plaza, and you're violating my space. Somebody call the cops.
I remember there was one like that when the Halloween thing up at was it Princeton, and the professor came out and defended certain costumes, and some of the students lost their minds.
Lost their minds.
And he
you're paying $65,000 a year to go to school. Excuse me. And this is what you come with. It's just, and this guy's going to be, if it's Yale, they're going to be in the secret club or whatever it is, and these are.
Well, we'll see.
These are leaders. These are people that are going into government, and these are the guys that are going to be making the laws in 20 years.
Well, and that's why we're telling them, get over it. I loved the way that South Park handled it when they they announced that they're going to depict Muhammad, and then they depicted a figure who was allegedly in a bear costume, and of course this is all cartoon,
Right.
And then at the end, the figure in the bear costume took off the costume, and it was Santa Claus. It wasn't Muhammad at all. But boy, there was some backlash, and it just goes to show you don't have any idea what communication happens in the listener. Okay, people can say whatever they want, and then somebody has to interpret that. And our laws say, rightly so,
We have a First Amendment.
exactly, that you can say whatever you want, and nobody can claim that they are so offended that any violence towards you is justified.
Right.
And that's the way it needs to remain, and that needs to be firmly established.
I mean, a lot of that's gone down the toilet, though. I mean, because they will do this stuff on campus, for instance, and then they get called into the head guy's office, or they get suspended. You heard the one about the guy was off school property, and he was holding up a sign or American flag or something like that, and as the parade went by, he got pilloried.
And when we're seeing people make comments on Facebook and receive...
Oh, and then they get banned.
Right.
I mean, I forget what it was. I was reading one today. A lot of the libertarian posts are being, curated off the site and everything.
Well...
read this before it gets pulled kind of stuff. You see that.
If Twitter or Facebook and those other mediums are screening whole segments of the population, as it seems that they are,
right,
they'll be replaced by freer and more egalitarian.
I think they will. I mean, when they go too far, then, and I'm guessing that will happen sometime. I mean, even though he's got $1.5 billion or $2 billion or whatever it is people that are on Facebook, and he's making a ton of money, he's super rich and everything, that can go away.
Oh yeah.
All people have to do is to say, I'm not doing this anymore. When somebody comes up with something that, that's a butt book or something like that instead of Facebook.
Well, yeah, it's the same. I mean, I'm sure that the coding of the Facebook is probably not exceptionally complicated. It's just
It's certainly gotten more complicated as it's moved along, but
Yeah,
it's
well,
still.
yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it was done in a couple of days, the basic one. So anyway, all right, enough of that.
okay.
Let's see, we're at about the 40-minute mark.
Well, we can stop at 5.
Yeah.
And we're back.
We're back. Okay, I got two more things here. Maybe if we can get to them. One of the things that I've always known, and this was called "Psychiatry Goes Insane." Every human emotion now is classified as a mental disorder in the new psychiatric manual DSM-5. Now, this particular book has been around for quite some time, and it started off with, it's like a little pamphlet. And there was the normal stuff, if schizophrenia maybe, and
Time, place, and
something.
identity, dislocation.
Yeah, right. There were some some attributes that they could call, that called for the psychiatrist to kind of deal with it. Maybe if you went to counseling, for instance, or something. Well, this book over the years, I remember this happened about 10 years ago, maybe, or 15 years ago. They had DSM-4. There was an article then about how it had ballooned up. And of course now with DSM-5, which is you look in there to see what disease this person has, and of course it gives you a description of it. I remember that in one of the crime shows they were talking about this guy, and he pulls up the DSM and he goes through and says, "See, this is what this guy is." Well, now everything you do has become a subject for this DSM. Virtually every emotion experienced by a human being, sadness, grief, anxiety, frustration, impatience, excitement, is now being classified as a mental disorder demanding chemical treatment with prescription medications or something. The new upcoming DSM-5 Psychiatry Bible is expected to be released in a few months, has transited itself from a medical reference to a testament to the insanity of and this is this guy writing, this is an op-ed piece, so mental disorders named in the DSM in the number 5 include general anxiety disorder, or GAD for short, It can be diagnosed as a person who feels a little anxious about doing something like, say, talking to a psychiatrist. Thus, the mere act of psychiatrist engaging in the possibility of making a diagnosis causes one of the symptoms. This is called quack science in circular reasoning, yet it's indicative of the way things are going. And this guy claims that the psychiatry today has evolved into nothing more scientific than astrology or reading palms.
And I can tell you that there's some validity to that.
Lots.
Yeah, because I've had to hire a bunch of psychologists to defend or to evaluate my clients. Most of the time, children.
Now, which are psychiatrists and which are psychologists?
So,
One's medical.
right.
That must be the psychiatrist.
Yeah, exactly. They have another level. A psychologist is more of an analyst of the situation.
Yeah, they can't prescribe medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've hired the top guys, PhD psychiatrists, to analyze my kids and also their parents for assistance in court proceedings. And what I have found is that these psychiatrists can find anyone to be insane and impaired and in need of re-education and
Re-education.
yeah, absolutely.
That's
and
the Pol Pot thing.
hey, man, and that's what it's like, the ultimate blanket that they can throw on you.
I feared for my life.
Well, it is, and what they say is, it's just something about him. We're concerned about his thinking.
But that, of course, the opposition calls in their big gun too.
Well, and that's what you have to do.
Right. No, I know.
And so, we have our psychiatrists come in there and say, the guy's perfectly fine. He's fine. And what you try to do is you pile your stack of psychiatry reports is bigger than their stack of psychiatry reports, and then hopefully you win. But it's crazy because these guys can find the most nuanced thing, like you said, anxiety, general anxiety. Who does? The people have general anxiety all the time about going outside or what food you're going to eat. Or
you get anxious when you're sitting in the food store trying to declare if you're going to get broccoli or beans.
That's right. Should I go for low calorie or low price?
Yeah, right.
I mean, what is what I'm wearing okay right now?
Yeah,
how many different
now,
things?
You talk about anxiety. That is the one I can see. You're getting ready to go to a formal party and your wife needs it.
Oh, man, yeah.
You talk about anxiety.
Does this make me look fat?
Oh, and that's what keeps these clothing stores in business because, a week ahead of time,
That's
I
right.
need a new dress.
But that could certainly easily be classified as anxiety disorder,
right,
as opposed to order. And then they can get these people in all sorts of treatment, which there's the money, because I can tell you, in one county in Florida, I heard the judge speak to me directly and say, because the kids were removed from the parents' household, the parents qualify for psychological evaluation. That is, just because a determination was made that we're going to take these kids, which I can tell you, the level of proof that's required to take somebody's kids is like a mention. Yeah, it's like, I think there's a problem with the kids.
Yeah,
we'll go get them.
Yeah, you're right. The neighbor.
The neighbor said the house was dirty. We go get the kids in the state of Florida. And what this judge said is, if that happens to any parent, then they must be crazy, and they're certainly crazy enough to go to a psychological evaluation.
Why don't they commit the DHS people or whatever it is?
At some point, that would be.
They're the crazy ones. So anyway, but so you've actually been involved in this.
Oh yeah.
And what?
And they can say it about anything. It can be totally nuanced.
Well, the thing about it is, once you're in the treatment place,
oh man,
there's nothing everything you do is proof.
That's right. It's
proof. I mean, the fact that you're saying, you people are crazy, let me out of here. That right away, boom, that's an extra couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll give you an example. If they take your kids in the state of Florida, you will get visitation with them probably up to 1 hour per week with your children. And if the children show, and you're not allowed to discuss what's going on with the children, okay? So the children get picked up from school by the officials, driven to their house where they're allowed to gather some clothes, and then driven out to their new home. And this could be a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old child who's never been out of their parents' sight. They're going to be placed in a new family, told to go to a new school, and told they will see their parent at 1 hour on Thursday. And then if the child shows up and cries, then they lose their minds. That is, the administrators come in and say, look, you've obviously destroyed the child because the child is crying here at their meeting with you, when they should be happy that they're getting their meeting with you. Meanwhile, the child is perplexed at what the hell is going on. Why have I been removed from my parents' house? How come every time I ask them about it, they avoid the subject? And they get defensive and evasive, and because
that's another disorder.
It's a disorder. Well, according to the child, it is, because the child's always been told the truth by the parent, at least ostensibly, and so there's this huge disconnect, and they even go so far as to slow down the return process of bringing the children back into the parents' lives, for fear that the shock of placing them back into their homes too rapidly would have a deleterious effect on their psyche. And yet they have no problem taking them right out of the parents' home with zero notice at all. So these type of psychology reports support that entire endeavor. And the way they justify the whole thing is by pointing at some dude in the courtroom and saying, that guy right there is a PhD, and he said this is all right. And everybody just, okay, well, there's the report.
Hey, who would doubt the expert?
You can't.
You can't.
They're the PhD.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's got a PhD from East Tennessee.
So watch out, man. I wouldn't want to be classified as crazy in this day and age, because I guarantee you they're going to use that for all sorts of things later.
Well, this is what I'm telling you. This is why this article caught my attention. Was they said this thus begins the call for treatment. Millions of children say they make it up to begin with and publish a paper on it, and that's the way it gets into the DM. What the hell it is. And so it's a completely fabricated disease, but it requires treatment now because it's in the book. And serious sounding psychiatrists, who are all laughing their asses off in the back room, then diagnose children with hooga boogala disorder and prescribe, the medicine or whatever. And they get, and it says, this guy says they get financial kickbacks from big pharma or something. Who knows?
Well, they certainly get paid by the state to do these evaluations
at
hundreds of dollars an hour.
I mean, hundreds. I know a family of two psychiatrists that you sit there thinking, and they get paid. They are rich. They get paid by the state for their evaluations and so forth. So they get to get together every few years and invent more fictitious disorders. The DSM is now larger than ever. It includes such disorders as obedience defiance, or ODD. Okay, defined as refusing to lick the boots and follow the false authority. Rapists who feel sexual arousal during their raping activities are given the excuse because they have paraphilic coercive disorder. Philic, and therefore not responsible, but they'll need medication. You can also get diagnosed with hoarding disorder if you happen to stockpile food, water, and ammunition, being prepared for natural disasters.
That's right.
So anyway, I hesitate.
And I've seen children removed from the household because the parents were accused of authority defiance disorder. And because they were teaching their kids that to watch out for the authorities. Right.
Yes. Okay. Well, of course, I guess the kids get ripped away if they don't obey their parents.
Well, no. If you obey your parents, you can get.
Well, the neighbor calls up and says it's abuse. I saw him abusing. That kind of thing. So, all right. Well, listen, I'm done. I think we're all over here.
Okay.
It's about 5 o'clock, but we got started late.
Yep.
But tomorrow we will try to make it on time and remember to hitch up the phone earlier. So the Jimmy Doane Show here, and don't forget, you can watch this and share it. Love to watch you share this thing, and tell your friends. And we'll get this thing down so we don't have to start 20 minutes too late.
I should probably put Jimmy Doane up here somewhere.
Well, it's my fault. It was my fault because I was kind of I was laying down listening to my iPod. And the counselor thought I was sleeping, And no, you have a mandate.
Uh-huh.
I don't care if I'm laying.
Show must go on.
That's it. You shake me, whatever it is.
Uh-huh. Prop you up there.
'Cause I've done all this curating, and I don't want to let it go to waste.
Of course not. Of course not.
All right.
All right.
See you tomorrow, 4 o'clock.
Thank you so much.